Alright, today I'm going to talk to you guys about discrimination against atheists. Atheism is the lack of belief in the existence of God or gods. So basically it's just they don't believe in God, obviously, if you didn't know that. And I read a couple articles that really kind of had some good points in them, and I want to share them with you. The first article that I read was titled Becoming an Atheist in America, Constructing Identity and Meaning from the Rejection of Theism. In this article, the author talked about the 4 stages of atheist identity development. And those 4 stages are the starting point, the questioning theism, rejecting theism, and then coming out as an atheist. And the way the author explained them, it said that like the starting point was like where you start to realize that like maybe you don't want to believe in God. And then you start to question God, and you start to question everything about God and about religion and about everything. And then once you start to question it and you have all these deep questions, and then you start to reject it all, and you start to just turn away from it and turn your back on it. And then after a while, then you just come out as an atheist, and you just say like you don't believe in God. But what I liked most about this article is that the author argued that becoming an atheist is not a process of development, but rather an achieved identity through social interaction. And what that said to me was that the author knows that like you're not born an atheist. It's something that you have, that you do based on who you're around and who you put yourself around, and the way that you're brought up, the way that you're raised. If you're raised in a home where they don't believe in God, then you're not going to believe in God. If you hang out with people who say that God doesn't exist and there's no way God exists, then you're obviously going to believe that because you want to fit in with your friends. And so it's all about your social game. It's not anything about how you're born or that you were just born into it. It's all about your social game, because anybody can change their social ways. Like, if you want to believe in God, then get away from those atheist friends. That's how I looked at it. The second article that I read was titled Anti-Atheist Bias in the United States, Testing 2 Critical Assumptions. The first assumption is that when people report negative attitudes towards atheists, they're reacting specifically to their lack of belief in God. Okay, they're not reacting to the fact that you are maybe a lesbian or you're gay and you are an atheist. They don't care that you're a lesbian or gay. If they're discriminating against you and your beliefs, they're discriminating against you as an atheist. They could care less about your sexual orientation. They could care less about your race. They could care less about anything. All they want to do is point the finger at you because you don't believe in God. That's all that is. And then the second assumption is, it's kind of difficult to understand, but it says that survey questions asking about attitudes towards atheists as a group yield reliable information about biases against individual atheist targets. And that's basically saying that, like, survey questions are, if you give an atheist survey to an atheist, there's going to be bias. And if you give an atheist survey to someone who is against atheism, or someone who likes to discriminate against atheists, it's going to be biased. Like, you can't base everything off of a survey, is how I kind of took that. And then the third article that I read was titled On the Receiving End, Discrimination Towards the Non-Religious in the United States. And this article had lots of statistics in it, and so I'm going to share a lot of these statistics, so just bear with me. But it said that 25% of people who say there is no such thing in God are discriminated against. So out of all the people who say there's no such thing in God, 25% of them are discriminated against. And that's not really a big number. It's like 1/4 of the people who say that. And then it says that 27.4% of people who say there is no way to know are discriminated against. And then 15.6% of people who say there are no way, they are not sure, are the ones who are discriminated against. And then 23.9% of people who say there is a higher power but no personal God are discriminated against. So, like, those people believe in somebody out there, somebody who's higher up, somebody who is kind of like a God, but, like, you cannot have a personal relationship with them. There's no personal thing about it. And then 20.1% of people who say there is definitely a personal God out there is discriminated against. And this article, that's kind of why it stood out to me, because it didn't point out all the statistics about the atheists and about people who don't believe in God and the people who are kind of struggling with that. It also points out people who do believe in God and that they're discriminated against too. And then it also said that 41.2% of people who say that they're an atheist are discriminated against. And then 44.0% of people who say they're agnostic are discriminated against. And then 19.1% of people who say they are non-religious are discriminated against. And out of those last three statistics, if you claim to be somebody who doesn't believe in God, if you go around and you say, I don't believe in God, you're more likely to get discriminated against than if you were just like, I'm not religious. I don't really care about religion. I'm not religious. But obviously, you're going to be discriminated against. Even like everybody will be discriminated against for their religious background, no matter what. An atheist will discriminate a Christian will discriminate an atheist. The people who believe in having 5 wives, they'll be discriminated against by the people who said the Bible clearly states that it's marriage is supposed to be between one man and one woman and not one man and 7 wives. Or the gay lesbian, transgender, all that situation that's going on now, they're going to be discriminated against by the Christians who are strict and believe in that marriage is between one man and one woman, not 2 women, not 2 men. So anything that has to do with a religion is obviously going to be a cause for some discrimination. But I just want to share a little bit about the atheists and about how atheists are discriminated against today. So, thank you.